Two superhero movies have already been released this year, Captain America: The Winter Soldier and The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Two have yet to come out, X-Men: Days of Future Past and Guardians of the Galaxy. And I really like superheroes. I like superhero movies, I like comic books, and I haven't posted a video in about a week, so I decided, what could I post? What kind of video could I make? And so I've decided to count down the top 10 best superhero villains, because a hero is only as good as his villains. And we have to keep in mind with this list is that I'm not necessarily ranking the most powerful villains, I am ranking the coolest. Not necessarily coolest, just like which are the best villains. Interesting characters, they go against the hero well, they have interesting powers, anything like that. I have 10, I have 5 or 6, I don't know, I have a couple honorable mentions. There really weren't that many limitations for this one, so here we go. Coming in at number 10, we have the classic Spidey villain, the Green Goblin, usually Norman Osborn, sometimes Harry, but a couple other people have taken up the armor, but after that he kind of becomes the Hobgoblin. So I'm looking at more Norman Osborn, maybe a little bit of Harry. The movie portrayals of the Green Goblin have been slightly lacking. Willem Dafoe played a good Norman Osborn, but James Franco and Dane DeHaan both kind of missed the mark on Harry. So the Green Goblin, with his various hoverboards and pumpkin bombs and all this random equipment and his desire for more, he really exemplifies the sin of greed, as he's just on top of the world. Oscorp is one of the world's biggest companies, and he just can't help but want more, and he wants to crush the spider. Spider-Man should die. And if you don't like Spider-Man or Batman, you're gonna hate most of the villains on this list, because they take up most of them. Coming in at number 9, we have a more recent villain, the Winter Soldier. Now, a lot of people don't know that much about him. If you saw Captain America: The Winter Soldier, you know that he's absolutely badass. And I kind of had to draw a little line on this one, because at first he's definitely a villain, and he's one of the coolest villains. So I'm kind of looking at that side of him, because he does eventually kind of become crossing the line, mostly a hero, becomes Captain America at one time, but I'm looking at the villain, the Winter Soldier, and he is badass. He is an assassin, he is trained, he has this robot arm, and he just can't remember anything. He is cold, he is focused, and all he wants to do is whatever he's told to do by Hydra, and that is crazy. At number 8, I have my first Batman villain, Bane, star of The Dark Knight Rises and the underrated Batman and Robin. Couldn't say that with a straight face. Now, what Bane is famous for, both in the movies and the comics, he broke Batman. He took Batman and he broke his back in the infamous Nightfall storyline and in The Dark Knight Rises, the movie. And what was really cool about Dark Knight Rises is that they made him really smart compared to he's smart, but sometimes he's kind of like the dumb, oafish, I'm big. Like if you saw Batman and Robin, that's what it was. He was going, and Bane was efficient. Like, he got stuff done. He shut down New York, well, Gotham City. Like, he completely took it for his own. He is efficient. Even though he got the help of someone else, he knew what he was doing. He was cold-blooded. He is just this really kind of improved version of Batman. I don't know why I did this. This is how I hold my improved version of Batman, apparently. But he's stronger, he's faster, but he's just not as smart. And that's kind of where Batman usually draws the line. At number 7, yet another Batman villain, the Riddler. Now, he is really, really underrated in my opinion. He is maybe the smartest person on this list. He is an absolute genius. He can match wits with Batman, even though he thinks he always is smarter, and he's not, but my God, he is smart. The only thing that we've seen of him in the movies is Batman Forever, which is actually probably my favorite of the original 4 Batman movies, just because of Jim Carrey's rendition of him, which was absolutely awesome. He was crazy, but he was kind of just, you didn't know what was up with him, but you knew something was up, and he was funny, but he was weird, and he was also scary at the same time. And that's really what is great about the Riddler. And if you know anything about the comics, or the Hush storyline is one of the best ones that I've read, and he administered this whole thing. He got all these villains together, and he almost broke Batman. Although Bane did. The Riddler is just a tad dash more interesting. And if you played the Arkham video games, he is always in there. He's always in the back. He always leaves these riddles for you, and they're always really cool. At number 6, my third Batman villain in a row, and villainess, should I say, who kind of crosses the line between hero and villain, but she's a villain. Catwoman is absolutely I can't put it into words because she and Bruce Wayne, Batman, have one of the most tumultuous, craziest relationships in all of comic books. It's like, he's a criminal, she's a criminal, he's a hero, vigilante. And when you put them together and they have this weird attraction, it just doesn't really make sense. We've seen her in 2 different movies, Batman Returns, played by Michelle Pfeiffer, and The Dark Knight Rises, played by Anne Hathaway, both of which were excellent renditions. And Catwoman is one of the, even though she's one of the more complex characters, she's one of the easiest ones to bring to the screen. And with her whip and her leather, Catwoman's a very interesting character, especially as a foil to Batman, and she is crazy. And number 5, finally breaking the streak of Batman villains, we have one of the most important Marvel villains, Dr. Doom. Although he's primarily thought of as the villain of the Fantastic Four, which is probably like my least favorite superhero. It's my least favorite superhero group. I'm not a huge Fantastic Four guy, but he gets shit done, and he's kind of transcended being the Fantastic Four villain to be one of like the Marvel Universe villains. Like, he's caused events, major things. He's been villains in other storylines. In the Marvel Ultimate Alliance video game, he was the main villain. And he's just really, really weird. He's hard to pin because he was originally the Mr. Fantastic's friend, and now he's not, and it just doesn't really make sense. Well, it makes sense, but he's just really crazy. He's one of the hardest characters to get behind, and you can't really pin him down. He's really powerful, and he's a genius. At number 4, we have the most recognizable villain of the Marvel Universe as far as the movies go, and that is Loki, villain of Thor, Thor the Dark World, and the Avengers. And honestly, he wasn't that cool until the movies came out, and Tom Hiddleston played him flawlessly. He was funny, he was really witty, but he was also very threatening. You knew he was always planning something, but you never really wanted to think of him as a villain. And that's kind of why he's amassed this cult following. Everyone loves Loki. He's been in 3 movies. That's by far the most out of any villain, and I wouldn't be surprised if he pops up again anytime in the near future, easily in the next Thor movie, maybe even in a later Avengers movie. I don't think he's going to be in Age of Ultron, but what's really interesting about him is the immense power he has, this rage he has against Thor, and he's funny. And that's kind of something that you don't see that often in a great villain. At number 3, we have a villain who was very, very disappointing in his movie, but in the comics, my God, Venom is badass. He is the antithesis of Spider-Man. He is deadly. He is ruthless. And I don't even know how to put this into words. I also considered putting Carnage on this list, as he's kind of just a deadlier version of Venom. But Carnage went to the point when he's so out there that he's not even as interesting as Venom. Because Venom is still slightly human. There's still a little bit of like Eddie Brock in there. But Carnage is just all out. God damn. Venom obviously originated from the black suit, the symbiote, and he got into Eddie Brock, and he created this, I don't know how to put it into words, but Venom is awesome. If you haven't seen anything of him besides his very, very disappointing rendition in Spider-Man 3, I definitely recommend checking something out and finding out how amazing he is. Number 2, the big guy, Magneto. Wow, he is probably the biggest villain of the Marvel Universe. He's caused huge problems, and sometimes he even flips over to becoming a good guy in the comics, and even once in the movies in X2, X-Men United, and it seems like he's re-teaming up with Professor X for X-Men Days of Future Past to save the world. And Magneto is really, really just awesome. And what's awesome about him is that you can kind of relate to him. You know that he's taking his ideas too far, but you don't necessarily disagree with him, because he kind of thinks we're the superior species, humankind needs to quit bugging us, and he maybe has gotten pushed so far that he wants to completely wipe them out. X-Men First Class, as well as a lot of the comments, have explored that he was a Holocaust victim, and that just kind of makes you feel even worse for him. That's why he hates humans so much, is he was this person who was superior to them, and he's being put down, and he just wants to take it out on them. And Magneto, the father of Quicksilver and the Scarlet Witch, also 2 of the very powerful Marvel characters, is a huge problem often, and he's awesome. Before we get to the number 1, maybe obvious pick, here are a few honorable mentions. And now at number 1, which might be the obvious choice, but there is no other choice. The Joker. The perfect character foil to Batman. Joker is chaos. Batman is order. Joker is insane. Batman is maybe also insane. And that's what's so interesting is Joker constantly brings up is that they're not that different. Although they're opposites, they're the same. They're both kind of crazy, but who's more crazy? One of my favorite comic book storylines for any character of all time is The Killing Joke, in which Joker kind of tries to show Batman how one bad day can just push someone over the edge. And the ending of that book is one of the most interesting things I've seen in comics. I don't want to spoil it because you can literally Google The Killing Joke, read it, it'll take like 10 minutes. It's not long, and it's amazing. Like, just so much is revealed about both of the characters. And the Joker, as the prime villain of all 3 Arkham games, The Dark Knight, the best Batman movie, Batman, the many think is also the best Batman movie, although The Dark Knight, in my opinion, is worlds better than that. But the Joker is always the main villain of Batman. He's the main villain of the DC universe. He's the main comic book villain, and there's reasons. He's crazy, he's deadly, he'll stop at nothing, and he is inexplicably linked to Batman. Without Batman, there's no Joker. Without Joker, is there a Batman? Anyway, thanks for watching. Let me know if you agree. You probably do, because I'm always right. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.